Welcome back, everybody, to another fantastic episode of the Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast. Episode 63, everybody. I am one of your hosts, Wrestling Chris G, and joining me on the other line this week is the man that's nearing the end of his adventure. It's good old Dougie Fresh. Dougie, my man, how you doing?
Where am I going?
I don't know. I just thought it kind of fit.
I
I thought you were jumping over to that Digimon podcast that you got offered last week that you didn't think I heard about. I heard
No.
about that, Doug.
No, you didn't.
I heard about
Nah, people lying to you.
it. So how you doing, man?
I'm all right.
I'm all right too. I'm pretty stoked, and I'm not going to give my rating yet, but I'm pretty stoic about this episode that we're about to review, because this episode was pretty big and balls on and just all sorts of good, at least to me.
You say balls on?
Yes, I did.
What does that mean?
Don't worry about it, Doug. You're not supposed to question what I say. You're supposed to just be like, oh, that's just another weird thing that he's saying, and we're just gonna keep going and act like it never happened.
Well, if I did that, the episode would only be like 5 minutes long because I wouldn't be talking.
Doug would be scratching his head. Balls on.
The whole time. What the hell does that even mean?
What does that mean? Is he just screwing on his balls? Okay, but yeah, today is episode 63, Doug. Miraculous number 63. It's just a big number. Wait until we get into the hundreds. But today's episode is called The Battle of the Badge, or translated from Japanese, Tokiwa Gym, The Last Badge.
So, Tokiwa is the Japanese translation for Viridian?
Yes.
Aha.
So, yes, that well, I wouldn't say the Japanese translation, because you could probably say Viridian a different way out in Japan. It's just that's what they call that city in Japan, in the anime, I guess you could say.
Well, but that's the same thing.
A little bit, possibly. But yeah, we're on a weird binge. So we got this one. Next week's episode is a Mr. Mime episode, of Ash going back home, and then we're gonna hit a little bit of a backtrack on the following two episodes, featuring Jinx, and actually it's two episodes, kind of featuring Jinx and Ash getting caught in a snowstorm. So yes, we will be reviewing Holiday Hijinks and Snow Way Out, premiering in a couple weeks, Doug.
Yeah, I'm excited, and, not to get too far ahead, but I noticed that Season 2 of Pokemon is still on the 1 week ahead in terms of who's that Pokemon,
Yes.
which frustrates me.
You were on such a binge on the other podcast for Black and White, where they're finally spot on for the episodes for a while, and now we're back to doing Kanto, and you're like, oh shit.
How hard, for next week's episode, how hard would it have been for it to be Mr. Mime, and then for this week you could have had...
They could have did Mewtwo.
Well, they could have did, but that was... Well, no. Well, yes and no, because
well, they're going to do Mewtwo in a couple weeks. I'm just going to point that out there. Actually, let me find out. So let's continue this conversation, Doug. But I'm going to find out when they actually do Mewtwo. He is coming up. I know that.
But no, I mean they could have done Kingler. They ain't done Kingler before. But no, we have to.
Mewtwo comes up in episode 91.
It's more than a few weeks.
Yeah, that's way more than a few weeks. So we got Mewtwo coming up in 91. We have Mewtwo coming up in episode 165. And we have Mew finally make his appearance in the Who's That Pokemon on episode 191.
Wow.
Yeah. So we don't even get Mew at all coming up anytime soon.
Wow.
Just blew your mind.
I don't even remember Mew being one of them.
Yeah, Mew is 151.
Well, I know that, but I didn't. Did you really just give me his Pokemon number?
Yes, I did. Oh, that's funny. Because it's funny. I'm looking this up because I was actually looking out the holiday hijinks and Snow Way Out because they don't on Bulbapedia. They actually have them as lost episodes, as the lost episode of 39 and 40,
But
but
they
not
come
the
back
official.
around, don't they?
What do you mean?
Later, because I remember watching them.
What holiday hijinks?
Uh huh.
Yeah. Yes. Well, they premiered. So they're the unofficial. So Holiday Hijinks is the unofficial 39th episode, and Snow Way Out is the unofficial 40th episode.
Uh
But
huh.
but since they but those two episodes came after the Porygon episode that didn't air. And with all the stuff that happened with the Porygon
Oh.
episode, they skipped those two to not have the controversy of the whole blackface scenario. They didn't want to be giving kids seizures and then go straight into blackface because that would have been bad marketing for Pokemon. So
So if we'd have been thinking,
they took those episodes and just scrapped them completely,
uh huh.
and then they threw those episodes out in a couple weeks for when we're actually going to be going over these episodes.
So if we'd have been thinking, we should have done those two after Porygon.
Yeah, we could have. But I'm honestly, according to Wikipedia, I wouldn't have known that. I'm looking on Bulbapedia right now, and it's giving more of an in-depth as to why those episodes were pulled. So I'm learning stuff on the air right now, talking about this as you are.
So it
So
wasn't just for blackface. Like they were still kind of reeling from the Porygon stuff,
yes,
and they were like, "Oh, these next two episodes are kind of touchy as well."
yes.
Shit, you know.
So but for people that liked our banned episodes, we're definitely going to dig into those controversial episodes in just a couple of weeks because it's funny they did end up airing them, and I think they probably only aired like the one time, but they did not change Jinx from being black to purple in those episodes.
No,
It's still the original Jinx.
and I mean the who's that Pokemon image was Black Jinx.
Yeah. So but yeah, this episode, Doug, premiered in Japan. The one that we're doing today, the Battle of the Badge, premiered in Japan September 17th, 1998, and here in the States premiered September 25th, 1999. So a whole almost a year and about a little over a week later, we got it here in the US as the turnaround.
Yeah, and that's where we we ran into some trouble because like I was pulling the 25th up and I was like that sounds familiar, and you were like, oh, it was up here, and what did you say, the Electric Shock Showdown? So I was like,
Yes.
shit, you know, and I had you pull up the episode because I wanted to make sure we didn't do the
The same dates
same
or
yeah,
events.
events, yeah.
So mine happened in, let's see. So today we're doing the 25th. Mine happened in 1959, Doug. Am I going first or are you going first this week?
You are going first this week.
I am. All righty. So on September 25th in 1959, everybody, um, Hammer horror film The Mummy, Mummy, starring Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, was first released in the UK on this date. And this is the original mummy that was later brought back and more dwelled into the mummies and like the mummy returns that we have today that you might be more familiar with. But this was the original film that was released in the UK in 1959.
And unfortunately, the most recent attempt by Universal to revive the Mummy and by extension the classic horror monsters franchise fell flat on its face.
They
So
tried to
we
bring it
won't.
back?
You don't remember the Mummy with who the fuck was it? Big movie? Tom Cruise, I think, a couple of years ago.
No. Oh shit. You know what? Yeah, because my son wanted to watch the one with the rock in it. I just glanced at that and I think I put it on. Dude, we put on the beginning of that movie and that movie just looked awful.
It was not good, and
Like the
from
budget of that movie just looked bad too.
well, but that's the problem because it had a big budget because it had Universal behind it, and they were trying to get a franchise back off the ground. And there was going to be like Werewolf and the Creature from the Black Lagoon, and I think the only one that survived. Well, I don't even think this counts, but I think the only classic monster that survived is Invisible Man, and I think that might have even been a different studio. So, and like the damn movie had Tom Cruise, and I mean, I understand it's not, 1999 Tom Cruise, but still, Tom Cruise should still sell tickets.
Yeah, for real. Well, I think Tom Cruise has his own audience. I think he has a very hardcore base of fans that will follow him no matter what movie. But I can't tell you the last Tom Cruise movie that I actually sat down and watched. Could you?
Uh, Tropic Thunder, probably. And I mean, that barely counts because he's got a cameo as like the fat producer.
Oh, okay. Well, so that one was mine, Doug. How about yours this week?
So, on September 25th in 1983, American actor, singer, and writer Donald Glover, aka Childish Gambino, was born on Edwards Air Force Base in California.
Ooh, okay. That's
Um,
pretty big.
Great actor, um, Community, Atlanta, um, three albums. Um, the the latest release, "Awaken My Love," in my opinion, being his best work. Um, I think he was most recently in Solo, potentially, maybe.
Maybe.
I think he is or wanted to be Lando, maybe. Um, I don't know. You're supposed to know Star Wars. God damn it. Um, so yeah, it's another birthday, but it's a triple threat, as it were. Waiting for another season of Atlanta. I think that's on the horizon potentially. I feel like
Are they actually making another season of it?
I feel like studios are trying to get their stuff kind of off the ground because obviously
COVID.
we're trying to return to some sense of normalcy in terms of shows coming back, and they would have been able to film theoretically over the summer. to come out, end of September, early October. So, yeah,
All
Donald
right.
Glover.
Donald Glover. All right. Well, outside of that, then it's I guess it's time to get into our episode. But I wanna take a moment right before we get into this episode. This is a special week for me and you, and hopefully it does better than our first one. But it's movie week for us. I mean, everybody out there has had a couple months to kind of sit on the Pokemon the first movie, but we're about to release our almost 3 hour review of Pokemon the first movie. The anticipation is kind of building. I'm kind of hoping we get some decent traffic with this movie. How do you feel going into this, knowing that it's just days away now, Doug? And we recorded this a couple months in advance.
Is that this week?
Yeah, it's this week. It's this Friday.
Oh, no shit.
I know.
Um, like you said, I hope it performs better than our first movie. I feel like
We did a
the
little bit more
first
homework.
movie. I feel like the first movie carries a little bit more weight than our first attempt. What did it end up being? Almost 3 hours.
Yep, 2 hours and 52 minutes.
So if nothing else, at least click on it when it hits your feeds.
Yeah, and if you haven't already, there's been time to dwell on it and sit on it. Go ahead and give it that extra bump this week, and have us forget that we were talking about it on this episode, and we're like, oh, why is the movie performing so well this week? Couple months down the line.
I hope it does well. I'm just not. I'm hoping you don't send me, 14 screenshots throughout the day.
Oh, I'm not gonna do that. I'll give us I'll send you the initial 24-hour drop screenshot, or I might even just wait for it to go until Sunday and give you a nice little screen grab as to if people are listening to it or not. So
But I mean, pardon me. You commit freaking 3 hours of your life to something. You hope it gets a little bit of traffic.
yeah, and I'm hoping, if anything, the little teaser, the black and white teaser that I put on there should, even though it's only a minute and a half, and there'll be a separate like bonus download for people. That by itself should help boost the numbers up. We're gonna have fake numbers, Doug, this week. Fake numbers. We're gonna get a stupid bump, but we had to put it out there. I didn't feel like adding that to the Pokemon movie because it's separate. Um, we didn't really talk about it, or it was kind of on the back burner when we were doing the movie, and I felt like I was like, I don't want to diminish or talk about something on the movie podcast that we're only going to talk for about a minute and then like not talk about it at all. Like we had a pretty good flow on that movie podcast. I didn't want to ruin it.
No, and I mean that's understandable,
So,
But
but yeah, we're working. As of this week, we're gonna have 2 full weeks. Well, not 2 weeks. We're gonna have this week, and then we're gonna have next week to kind of jump that up before people start hearing black and white for the first time. So let's just hope we're leading in the right direction.
well, and like I said earlier, it's not like we threw a dart at a dartboard and just pardon me, picked a random season. So
Yeah. Oh, something that we were. I can't believe I forgot already, Doug. Um, on FeedSpot. It's a very big website for people that do podcasting, blogging, and all of the above. Um, we are actually we've hit the list last year. We started off at number 16. We went up to 13, and we are now at number 11 in the top 30 Pokemon podcasts that are out there. Go ahead and give us a view on FeedSpot. Maybe subscribe to us on there and help bump us up because we're literally very minimum down followers away from being in the top 10 Pokemon podcast of all time. So just help us out if you can. I know it'll be a couple months before you're hearing this. We're probably already there by the time you're listening to this episode. But go ahead and keep boosting us and get the word out more about our podcast because all of you fans that are out there that are listening to this, you are the ones that made a difference for us continuing this podcast. So thank you.
I don't know. I feel like you would have kept going even if we were just talking to the wall.
You think so?
I don't know. I feel like you were kind of hyped to do this.
Well, if we wasn't catching any traction, I probably would have thought second. Because how many duds in the wrestling podcast did we have until we finally caught fire, and we like had to switch things up many times to kind of get our niche down, Doug.
Some would say we still haven't found our footing.
Well, we did. We had a nice little audience. So, all right. You ready to jump on in, Doug?
Been ready.
I know you've been ready. All right. So all right. So the theme song is playing right now, Pokemon. Let's go ahead and get our captions on, everybody. And we are now in Viridian City, Doug. We have finally made it.
And we get a quick little rundown that Ash is looking for his 8th badge, and if he is able to get it, he will be able to qualify for the Pokemon League. And we kind of get a brief, like, oh, I can't believe it's been a year since we've been here.
And it's funny because they look at the Pokemon Center that they completely blew up with Team Rocket. They walk right by and they're like, oh, the Pokemon Center is back up.
and Brock really shouldn't be like, yeah, because he wasn't there yet.
Exactly. Okay, this is where I have a problem, Doug. And I wanted to point it out in this episode. It's going to go on deaf ears and everything. But they made it a point to say that it's been a year, right?
Right.
It's been a fucking year. We're reviewing season 14. And Ash is still fucking 10 years old.
Oh, come on. You know the cartoon kid logic stuff.
I don't care. I mean, I know, like, even when it comes to The Simpsons, they at least grew Bart up a little bit in the cartoon.
They have not aged him. He's still 10 and Lisa's still 8. However, Homer's age has fluctuated.
So how does that work, Doug?
I don't know. Like when you started the episodes, he was like 38, 37, and then in recent episodes, he's been like in his 40s. So I have no idea.
I don't know. It's a weird concept, but it's just they said it's been a year, so Ash should literally be 11 years old right now.
Uh-huh.
But he's still 10.
Maybe there's a time warp in the Kanto region.
Yeah, there must be. They must celebrate a birthday every couple years, which means that would mean Ash is like 20.
Yeah. Right, that's even worse.
All right, everybody. So they're walking by and they see the Viridian City gym, and they allude to that inside of that gym is where Ash can get his Earth badge.
Yep, and then we get the
final badge.
And then we get the title screen, and then we see 2 guards standing outside the entrance of the gym, and then we get more Ash
Getting
and his
pumped.
unnecessary explanations.
He's like, I have 7 badges. I just need one more to get into the Pokemon League. It's time. He's like, I got to win it here. And Pikachu is like, yeah, Pika. And Ash is like, I know I can do it. I got the fire. He says, I'm on a hot streak. And then freaking Ash gets a little bit of a fiery glare inside of his eye. And Brock is like, whoa, Ash is all fired up.
But then we see that Togepi and Pikachu have literally lit a fire under his feet.
Just out of nowhere. Like, Pikachu must be like the quickest fire starter ever, because he was just on Ash's shoulder going, yeah, Pika. And then now him and Togepi, like Pikachu almost made Togepi a boiled egg.
Almost, yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, I do like me a hard-boiled egg once in a while.
So, and then Ash looks down and he's like, ow, 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 because his shoe is now on fire. And luckily he's close to home, so he can get a new pair of shoes made by his mother.
Made?
His mom makes all of his outfits.
She don't make shoes.
You don't know that.
She don't make shoes.
You don't know that. She makes his backpacks, and she makes his hats, and she makes his little.
She did not make that hat.
No, well, going forward, I guess I'm foreshadowing. She makes a lot of his clothes going forward, which you will soon find out.
He had to turn in box tops for that hat.
Yes, he did.
But yeah, so pardon me. Then we get a nice, like, heartwarming moment between Ash and Pikachu.
Right before that, Misty goes and yells at Pikachu and Togepi for making the damn fire.
No, she yelled at Pikachu. She ain't gonna yell at Togepi.
True. She's like, Pikachu, now why did you go and do that? Pikachu's like, I'm sorry. And Togepi's like, hey, that fire was warm.
But yeah, then we get that little, like, quick heart to heart, and Brock is emotional, and Misty's just over the whole damn thing. And
Misty still hasn't gotten her bike back.
Misty still hasn't gotten her bike back, exactly. And then we're just about to step forward into the gym, and then a red sports car pulls up.
Oh boy. Oh man. One of our favorite characters, good old Gary Oak, pulls up and looks right over at Ash, and he's like, you're still playing with your cute little Pokepals, eh, Ash? And you see his little cheerleader squad of like teenage girls that's all around him. And he's like, I thought you finally gave up catching and training on Pokemon. And Ash is looking on, and he's like, didn't you go back to Pallet Town? And he's like, but here you still are at it. I can't believe it.
And then Gary's like, hey, shut up. I only need one more badge. And Gary pulls out his little
pallet
case.
Yep.
And he's got 10.
He has 10 badges.
So I have questions.
Okay, what's your question, Doug?
Where did he get presumably where did he get those additional 3 from? Because judging by this, he doesn't have the Leaf badge yet. The Earth badge, the Leaf badge, the Earth badge yet.
Yes. So apparently there's a lot more gyms. So Ash was following the Pokemon game, like Red and Blue version. You have to get these 8 badges in these 8 towns in order to go to the Pokemon League. Gary went off map and got some more badges, and apparently there's a lot more badges out there than what Ash could have gotten. Because I'm looking at this, yeah, he has a decent amount, but there's clearly a few. Actually, I'm looking at this right now. Gary didn't even fight for the Volcano badge. He doesn't even have that. He has some weird, like, red, like chili pepper type badge. He has.
Yeah, looks like a fire hydrant.
Yeah. It's like a fire hydrant, and then he has a badge that looks like a bell. So all it looks like all of his badges outside. So he has the boulder badge. He has
He has the Cascade badge. He's under that.
yeah, he has the Cascade badge.
He has the Rainbow badge.
Yes, and then all the other badges that he has inside of here are not badges that Ash has.
Fake news.
He has 7 other badges that Ash does not have.
Fake badges. Fake news.
So
Counterfeit. Gary got the 3 and he said, "Fuck, this is hard."
yeah, exactly. But he looks over at Ash and closes this, and he's like, "You still think you have what it takes to become a Pokemon master?"
Gary went on Etsy and said, "Pokemon badges."
Etsy didn't exist then. I think back then, what would have been the Pokemon site?
I mean, eBay.
Yeah, eBay was around back then. So yeah. And Ash is just getting all sorts of. He's like, I just stopped by on my way back to Pallet Town and figured I'd come over here and just try to get my 11th badge, this Earth badge here. He's like, the gym leader was gone for a long time and he's finally back.
All right, so he's the first. He gets out of his car, and because he's the first to declare that he's wanting to challenge the gym leader, he gets to go in, apparently with his entourage, which, I call shenanigans, but whatever. I guess they're not trainers.
Yeah, they're not trainers.
And then Ash tries to enter, and they say only one trainer is allowed at the gym at a time, which I respect.
I do too, because at that point, if Ash were to go into that gym, he could scope out what Pokemon are in there and get his strategy down and be able to win.
Ash doesn't go, but well, no, we can't say that because we did just spend an episode the other day talking about how Ash adapts during battle, but that's also Ash from like 10 years from now. So
that is true. But yeah, the guards they have these big axes, and they're in these little gladiator outfits, and they put the axes down and cross them and make a big X to stop Ash from going into the gym. And they're like, only one trainer is allowed in this gym at a time. And Ash is like, but I gotta get in there. And they're like, rules are rules. And then they close the door on him.
He says, Gary's gonna get ahead of me, and Misty's like, he's been ahead of you since we started. Ash just crumbles. And Brock's like, hey, cool your shit.
Be easier on Ash.
She's like, well, I'm just being honest.
So, it's at this time that we see little old Togepi. Togepi walks over and starts touching Ash on his ear. Ash is like, thank you. You're the only one that always stands by me no matter what. Pikachu! And he holds Togepi. But it's at this point he sees Pikachu is on the ground and Togepi is in his arms. And he gets scared and he tosses Togepi up. Togepi flies onto a flag, bounces off the flag. A pharaoh just happens to be yawning on top of the building. And then Pharaoh has lunch.
And flies away with Togepi in its mouth. And Misty grabs Ash by the jacket and goes, why in the hell did you do that? And Ash goes, Misty, calm down. It was an accident.
He's like, get it? Because Togepi is an egg? And she's like, it's not time to joke. Let's go. So they go off running to go and get this pharaoh that's flying away with Togepi. And they were looking on top of a building where Team Rocket is.
And they're scoping out a building, trying to look for the three of them or Pikachu. But then the Pharaoh is going overhead and gets tired of holding Togepi in his mouth, spits it out, and Togepi lands smack on James's butt.
And James gets mad and he's like, the hell did you do that for, Meowth? And
Then
Meowth
why'd
is
you
like,
kick me?
huh? He's like, I don't know
I
what you're
demand to
talking
know
about.
why you kicked me.
And he's looking at Meowth, and Meowth is sitting there, had both of its paws on these binoculars, and Meowth is like, don't flatter yourself. I wouldn't waste my time by kicking you. And then Togepi comes walking into the scene, and all three of Team Rocket look at Togepi, and Jesse's like, oh, a Togepi. Our boss would just love to meet you.
And then we get a fantasy of Team Rocket presenting Togepi to Giovanni, and Giovanni's lord and praise over him, and then Jesse says that'll also come with a nice raise.
Yep. And it's at this point she tries to grab Togepi. Togepi jumps onto the ledge of this building and just starts walking. There just happens to be a board that's connecting from this building to the building that they're doing construction for across from it. And Togepi just jumps onto the low board, starts crossing over to the other side, and Team Rocket gets scared. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you might fall!" And Meowth is like, "Yeah, and it might get scrambled." Get it?
Yeah,
Another egg joke.
I don't care for the egg jokes because I feel like we did them. We did them when we introduced Togepi.
Yeah, we did, but I mean, this just makes it even funnier. But
So Jessie just takes it upon herself to crawl on this 2x4 to try to get to the opposite building to get a hold of Togepi. And James and Meowth are cheering her on, even though this would have been so much easier to send Meowth over.
yes,
Um, and Jessie gets about halfway and says, give me a break. Will you be quiet for a second?" And then as soon as she says break, the board cracks, and she does this cartoon thing of trying to paw up at the air, and she plummets
all the
towards
way
the
down to the
ground.
bottom. And
And
Meowth and James try to catch her, but she falls right in front of them. Where was James? Like, don't ever let James be on your team in baseball because the ball, he'll never get the ball. His arms were out at like stretched out from side to side instead of in front of him to catch her.
yeah, I mean, I guess it's easy to say that James just lost Jessie in the lights. Um, and then she pokes her head out of the hole, and we find out that Togepi did in fact fall because Togepi bonks Jessie on the head.
Togepi jump.
Togepi jumped. She says, "That looked like fun." And then Jessie grabs her, and then she falls back into the hole. And then we're back inside the Viridian City gym as Gary prepares for his battle.
Yes. And his cheerleaders are sitting there cheering him on, and Giovanni comes into the scene. He's like, "I am the Viridian City gym leader." And Giovanni's like, "Who are you?" He's like, "I am Gary Oak, the best Pokemon trainer in Pallet." And he's like, "Heh, confident, aren't you? All right, I'll accept your challenge. You will use 3 Pokemon. There is no time limit. Let the battle begin."
So Gary throws out a Nidoking, and Giovanni throws out a Golem,
Yes.
and we have dueling tackles.
Yes, and Golem goes in and rolls like a little ball, and freaking Needle King just runs in, and they just end up colliding with each other. And freaking Golem just gets the brunt of the attack and just goes down. Needle King is the winner by 1 attack. That is one
So
strong Needle King.
It's either a strong Nidoking or a weak fucking Golem.
For real. And freaking Gary's entourage is like, who's got divorced? Gary, of course. Who's got divorced? Gary, of course.
So Giovanni, not wanting to waste time, calls out it's Kingler, which we get Gary using Dexter.
Yes, he hasn't seen a Kingler yet, even though he has a very, very big Krabby. But this is the first time it says Kingler is the evolved form of Krabby. Its crushing claws. Oh, shit. Uh, he said this should be too easy. Kingler is the pincer Pokemon evolved from Krabby, and its claws makes it a powerful opponent. Is what it says. Sorry.
That's kind of a nothing description.
Yeah, nothing at all.
So Giovanni tells Kingler to use Crab Hammer and completely whiffs. Lucky for Nidoking, because Nidoking would have caught it right in the foot.
For real.
Gary calls back Nidoking and has this real slick, dumb line about, oh, it looks like your Kingler can do in a pinch.
and at this time, Gary kisses his Pokeball and throws out Arcanine. So he has an Arcanine. He tells it to use Takedown. And Arcanine goes in, does Takedown on Kingler. Kingler withstands the attack. And Gary's like, now use Fire Spin. And freaking he engulfs Kingler in a big old fiery trap. His entourage is going, Gary, he's the best. He's the one who will beat the rest. And he's like, that's true. I don't want to disappoint any of you girls.
So he goes for the killing blow, and he tells Arcanine to use Fire Blast, and it catches Kingler flush in the face.
Yes.
Knocks Kingler back, and Kingler is possibly cooked.
For real. I was about to say, I was like, he's definitely unable to battle. He didn't get I was kind of disappointed. Neither Golem or Kingler had the little like lines on the eyes to say that it can no longer battle.
Yeah, well, Kingler, was done. I mean, we saw it try to sit up and it couldn't do it. Golem just kind of, it didn't get up from the tackle. It must be done.
Now, and I kind of have a problem with this next thing. I mean, obviously, they said that they're using 3 Pokemon, but Gary won 2 of the 3 battles back to back, so shouldn't he automatically be the winner?
Yeah, we just had this discussion a couple of days ago. Obviously to do with Ash's hubris. Yeah, I mean, if you have a best out of 3 series and one team wins the first 2 games, it's a 2-game sweep and it's over. There's no need to play that 3rd game.
Exactly. So, I mean, I guess in Giovanni's gym, I mean, he's saying, you have to defeat all 3 Pokemon to get the Earth Badge here, which is kind of bullshit.
It is bullshit because that's not how it was laid out. Well, he didn't say anything about 2 out of 3, but I think we just assumed.
Yeah. So it's at this point that Giovanni laughs and he's like, and Gary's like, why don't you just call it quit? You can't beat me. And I think he's about to put his money where his mouth is because Giovanni gets up. Maybe he wasn't about to use his next Pokemon that we're about to see. But Giovanni kind of gets stirred and stands up. He's like, is that what you think, little boy? You really think that I can't beat you? He's like, maybe I have just one more Pokemon to test out. And maybe it's going to be my most powerful Pokemon of all. And then we finally get Giovanni's face on TV in the cartoon for the very first time.
And he comes into frame and he snaps his fingers. A door comes rising up that was in the distance. And out steps
Mecha Mewtwo.
Mecha Mewtwo in the suit from the movie. I should say the beginning of the movie.
Yes. This is the scene
And
that we did not get to see in the actual Pokemon movie.
okay.
So this is when we saw Mewtwo in the Pokemon movie, and it was battling all these Pokemon, and then we just had that glimpse of Gary. This was that scene, but we didn't we
Aha.
we didn't know what was actually going on. This is the scene that we missed out in the movie.
And we see Mewtwo's energy glowing, and we see Arcanine levitate and is thrown into the wall.
And Gary's like, "What the hell? How did it do that?"
And he,
You're telling me that out of all the Pokemon badges that he has, he's never seen a psychic attack?
yeah, that one kind of took me off guard. I mean, especially assuming if he went for the what was the badge at that gym?
Well, I'm just gonna call it the psychic badge, but so where Sabrina is, but I don't think he battled Sabrina. He didn't have that badge inside of his little pocketbook.
No, I think that was part of the bootleg badges.
But Gary
So
takes out good old Dexter, and Dexter has no data.
has no data, has no picture, just has static.
Yes. And Gary starts sweating now. He's like, no data. And Giovanni's like, now, as I was saying, my friend. And he's like, I'd like to test out this Pokemon in a battle of mine. So go ahead, use more than one Pokemon to attack it. If you're not afraid to lose. And then that causes a stir with Gary. He's like, I'm not afraid of anything. And
So
he's
he
like, let's get started.
so he throws back out Nidoking. He Arcanine comes to his side and sends him out too, even though he was just thrown to a wall.
Does Gary not have any other Pokemon on his belt? He could have sent
Yeah,
all of them out there.
I mean he was gonna have to have at least one more.
Yeah.
Um,
And this right here is the part that we actually saw in the movie.
yes,
So this was when we saw Nidoking and Arcanine speeding towards Mewtwo, and then we get the glimpse of Gary, and both Nidoking and Arcanine are levitated up in the air by psychic attack, and they're just in a lot of pain. And Giovanni's like, "Don't even waste your time. This is the ultimate Pokemon. It
and
can never
Gary's
be
just
defeated."
completely in shock and just stunned. And we go to commercial, and we get the Who's That Pokemon.
Mr. Mime.
Because of course it is. Because why wouldn't it be Mr. Mime? Because it's not
Why
like Mr.
couldn't
Mime
why couldn't it be
pisses.
Mewtwo?
Right. I mean, at this point, it pisses me off.
That just made no sense. Like we could easily have gotten Mewtwo as the Mr. Mime this week, but whatever.
And then we go back and we're in Giovanni's. I was a little confused by this. So we're in Giovanni's office, and Team Rocket is presenting him with Togepi,
Yes.
and he's like, "All right, cool. What does Togepi do?" And Togepi's just sitting there looking cute.
Oh, don't glance over this. They did have a line that I rewatching this, it kind of perked my ears up a little bit, Doug. Um, they said that Togepi is even rarer than the Pikachu that Giovanni wants so bad. So apparently Giovanni is telling Team Rocket to go and catch that Pikachu.
That's a fair point, and up until this point, this episode, all he was referred to as the boss. So we didn't really know.
Exactly. So my thing is that kind of alludes me to what we were talking about early last year on an episode that what if in some unparalleled universe that Giovanni is Ash's father, and the only way that he's keeping track of anything on Ash is by sending these two idiots to go and travel with him.
Yuck.
You don't like that?
Because he watched his son die in the movie. If that's the case,
No, not really. Giovanni wasn't there.
he was aware of it.
No, not even that. Giovanni had no idea of where this battle island was, remember? He broke out and Mewtwo went off on his own.
He knew where the island was.
But yeah, he created a Pokemon that killed his son, possibly. I'm still going with the fact that Giovanni is Ash's father, even though we're never going to get that answer.
Well,
Ever.
I don't know. You say that. It took him 25 years to finally win the Pokemon League.
That is true. That is very true. But all right, back on scene. Um, Giovanni is petting Pershing, and he has a Team Rocket ring on, but he has a wedding band ring on too. I don't know if you noticed that.
I did catch it, but I didn't think anything of it.
So
Other
apparently
than
Giovanni's married.
it could just be for style points.
Yeah, it could. But I mean that ring looks like a straight up wedding band, just on the right hand and everything. But yeah, back to what you were saying. They're like, here's Togepi, a rare Pokemon, and Giovanni's face is just so stoic.
It's like,
Like,
all right, fine.
what
What does it
exactly
do?
does this Pokemon do? And they're like, what does Togepi do? Unbeknownst to them, Togepi does metronome.
And Togepi's sitting there going, I'm cute. And this sends Giovanni over the edge.
Because they literally brought a Pokemon inside of an egg. This Pokemon hasn't even been born properly yet. He's like, you fools, you search for months and bring me this thing? You two are totally incompetent. They're like, we're sorry. And then the telephone rings, and it's at this point that Giovanni's getting bad news about Mewtwo, so he has to now leave.
So, is this before the battle then?
No. So this is after the battle, because remember, in the movie, him and he walks in after Mewtwo is finally out of its little water cage. He teams up with Mewtwo. Mewtwo and him do a bunch of different battles, with Gary being the last battle, and then Mewtwo starts busting and breaking away.
Right. Well, he gets out of the. Well, he's released from the restraints.
Yes.
Like this wasn't. I mean, obviously, Giovanni's like, "Oh, we got an emergency thing for you," and then. It's also worth noting that Togepi has completely left the room at this point.
Yes. And Giovanni tells Team Rocket at this point, he says, I have something that I need to attend to. Here's 3 Pokemon, and go ahead and defend the gym in my honor while I am gone. And then Giovanni wheels back in his chair and then goes behind the wall that he was at.
I'd like to imagine he just goes in the chair wherever he needs to go.
He loves to sit. Where Pershing go? Pershing just vanished.
Pershing completely just vanished.
So Team Rocket's like, did we just become gym leaders? Yeah. And it's at this point Giovanni is walking with 2 of his guards, which looks like it's the basement of his gym. Mm-hmm. And he walks up to Mewtwo. And Mewtwo is strapped up and looks like he's charging. And he looks over at Mewtwo and he's like, we have an emergency assignment for you.
And he hits the release on the charging ports, question mark?
Yes. I'm going to call them charging ports. And then that's the last that we see of Mewtwo and Giovanni in this episode of Pokemon.
And then we go right back to Ash and the crew looking for Togepi, and
Running all through the town.
Misty's completely distraught, and she grabs she grabs Ash again and goes, "If anything happens to Togepi, I'll never forgive you." Well, first of all, you were never going to forgive him because he killed your bike.
Yeah, so for real. This is strike 2 and 3 for Ash.
So, double jeopardy, whatever. And then Brock's like, "Hey, freaking calm down. This isn't going to solve anything."
And Misty's like, "Well, it makes me feel better."
and then we hear, it makes me feel better. And then we hear Togepi's voice in the distance, and we see that Togepi is
behind this big old door that Ash, Brock, and Misty have to pull this heavy door to the gym open.
Couldn't have been that heavy.
It looked like it was heavy.
Wow, but freaking Brock, Misty, and Ash are only 10, 10, and 15.
Yeah, but these, I guess, are automatic doors. I wouldn't have wanted to pull these because have those big boulder doors just crash open and break my fingers.
Oh, that's not pleasant.
No.
No.
So, all right. But it's at this time that they open the door, and there's good old Togepi just having a good old time.
Happier than a clam, and they're wondering how Togepi got inside.
And then they look inside and they see Gary on the ground.
And as Brock so astutely notices, because Ash goes, "It's Gary," and Brock goes, "And the girls."
Oh no, Doug.
And so Ash kind of goes to Gary's side and picks him up and, "Hey Gary, what happened?" And Gary says, "It's here." And what's here? A Pokemon that we've never seen. And there's something different about this Pokemon. This Pokemon's not just powerful, it's evil. And Ash is so naive, he goes, "There's no such thing as an evil Pokemon."
Oh, sorry. Yeah, continue.
And then the girls are over in the corner going, "I can't believe Gary lost."
And they start screaming. Ash drops Gary. And Misty, she's like, "Why are you making such a big deal about one lost battle?" And
I love this. She goes, "If I cried every time Ash lost a battle, I'd be waterlogged."
And Pikachu agreed and was like, "Pika." And
Ash falls into frame and goes, "She's just messing around."
So he's like, "No one will ever beat that Pokemon," Gary says. And Ash is like, "Huh?" And then it's at this point Team Rocket finally makes their appearance inside of the gym, and they do their motto, and then they're like, "We are the gym leaders of this gym." And Ash, Brock, and Misty are like, "You're gym leaders?" They're freaking stunned, and they're like, "Well, we've beaten you like 20 million times, so this is gonna be the easiest gym battle ever."
All three of them should get gym badges by proxy.
For real. And he's like, but Jesse's like, "Today is very different. Today just happens to be that we are the gym leaders here, and in order to get the Earth badge, you have to beat all of our Pokemon."
And they throw out the Pokemon that Giovanni gave them, and we have, pardon me, we have a Kingler, Machamp, and Rhydon.
Yes. And they said it's a 3-on-3 battle, no time limit. All three Pokemon on each team have to be defeated. Last one standing ends up winning. So at least they established that with this. Giovanni just said it's going to be a 3-on-3 battle.
Well, Giovanni was operating under a setup. Because there's no way a golem gets knocked out by one tackle. I don't care who you are, because golem, by definition, has to have evolved twice.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong.
Um, so there's three beasts standing in front of him. So what does Ash throw out? Frickin' Squirtle.
Well, I mean, in his defense, Squirtle is freaking a strong Pokemon in his repertoire.
Repertoire.
Repertoire, my bad. Thank you.
It's like he knows what he said.
I was quiet. So, yes, but he throws out Squirtle, and Jesse's like, "Is that the best you can do?" Machamp,
That's what I
karate
said.
chop.
That's what I said. I'm going, it's a Squirtle.
And then Machamp goes in and just fucking kills Squirtle, just whack, 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 whack. But it's at this point that we find out that Team Rocket was fucking evil as hell. Like this, I think this is one of their most evilest like plots that they've done. But they've rigged the system to where Ash feels every punch and every shock that is going into Squirtle's body from his attacks into his body on the little stand that he's on.
And he is absolutely on his hands and knees because Squirtle's getting that work. And
yes.
he calls out Bulbasaur. Well, because Gary says, Ash, Machamp is too powerful. But, Ash doesn't know the meaning of the word quit. And so he throws out Bulbasaur and
just uses Kingler.
Which was a smart move, because Kingler would have the advantage. And
no, water Pokemon are weak against leaf Pokemon.
I thought it was the other way around.
Nope. At least I don't think so. Yeah. Freaking leaf Pokemon beats water Pokemon.
So obviously fire beats leaf. No, leaf would be. Yeah, you're right.
I was like, unless Bulbapedia is lying to me right now.
Well, Bulbapedia is on some shit. They redesigned their website, and I'm not a fan of it. So, Bulbasaur tries to use Vine Whip. Kingler uses Harden. And then Jesse tells Kingler to use Bubble Attack.
And just demolishes Bulbasaur.
And Ash is just screaming on the podium again.
Gary's like, you can't win. Their Pokemon are too strong.
And Ash is like, I've come too far to just quit now. He says, I trust my Pokemon. And he...
and then he sends out Pidgeotto into the battle. And this, I give Ash credit for thinking, but he sends out Pidgeotto to attack Rhydon. Rhydon's not even in the battle yet. He's just out of the Pokeball. And Rhydon just gets blindsided by Wing Attack. And then we see a little bit of sparks on the ground underneath Jesse's feet. And I'm like, uh-oh, fucking Team Rocket was an idiot. And they rigged both sides of this.
Oh, wait a minute. Let's not blame all of Team Rocket. I put the blame on Meowth.
True. And Ash goes, Pidgeotto, double edge attack. And Pidgeotto's like, all right. And just fucking demolishes Rhydon. And Jesse gets fried.
And it can't have been that bad of an attack. I mean, she is writhing around like freaking Rhydon got KO'd.
Well, I think the system was rigged because James is like, why did you rig both sides to do the shock? He's like, and Jesse's like, turn it off. Like as if one attack does 30 seconds of voltage for freaking Jesse. Bless you.
Thank you. So Jesse's now frustrated. Well, because Meowth's like, okay, well, this is it. I'm just going to we're just going to end this now. And he's got this big like self-destruct button, and he's going to hit the green button, which is
Well,
Ash's side.
well, his defense was he said he didn't think that they were going to lose, so that's why he rigged both sides.
But he goes, I did bring this up just in case we did start to lose, and that's the literal kill switch.
Yes.
And he's about to hit it, and then Gary tackles him, so the device goes flying. And now Jessie's frustrated, and she sends out all the Pokemon in the battle, as well as
Arbok and Weezing.
right. And
It
then
says
Misty's
all
like,
Pokemon attack.
you can't call out Pokemon that weren't originally in the battle. It's
And
against
Jesse's
the
like,
rules.
she's like, I make the rules for this gym. I'm the gym leader. And Ash is like, well, if those are the rules, then let's go Pikachu. You know, it didn't even strike me that Ash wasn't even going to use Pikachu in his last battle.
Maybe he thinks Pikachu's a crutch.
Apparently. But I mean, I guess for training Bulbasaur and Squirtle, but I mean, in my last battle, Pikachu would have been my secret weapon. Especially
Right.
when Pikachu fries Team Rocket all the time and sends them flying off, blasting off.
Which he literally does here. He jumps on Arbok and hits him with a Thunderbolt, and everybody on Team Rocket's side gets fried. Jessie is being cooked. The Pokemon Giovanni lent out they run away, and Weezing and Arbok knock over Jessie in her trainer's box. And Ash and company are celebrating because they have won the battle.
Yes. And Ash is over there celebrating with his Pokemon. The women are celebrating with Ash because they just saw Ash win. Gary is looking on, and he's kind of in disbelief. He's like, I hate to admit it, but that kid's a pretty good Pokemon trainer. And he says that under his breath, to where Ash can't hear it, but he's like, but nobody is ever going to beat the Pokemon that I saw.
Which I did like that line, especially the way he kind of was like, hushed about it.
Yep.
But then, Jesse or James and Meowth are trying to wake up Jessie, and Jessie's like, I'm lucky I'm able to breathe after what you did to me. And she's beating him up. And
Ash is like, I won this match fair and square, so give me my Earth badge that I earned. And Jesse's like, you're not getting anything. And she pulls, she does the whole eye and tongue out thing, but she does it off screen.
I was going to say, I was disappointed. I was like, really? It's right there. Do it.
And Meowth looks up and he's like, huh? Well, he sees Togepi messing with the little gadget thing that he dropped when Gary tackled him. Which, by the way, how did Meowth get all the way on top of the thing with Jessie?
This is also true.
I'm just kind of wondering that. But yeah, Togepi is touching it, and Meowth is like, "Don't touch that thing!" And freaking Togepi goes and hits both of the buttons at the exact same time, sending off a big explosion inside of this gym.
Yeah, because he says, I think I rigged both sides. And what does Team Rocket say? Because they say something specific when they get blasted off.
They said we're blasting off again. Oh, that was it.
Okay. It's next week when they say something.
And Jessie drops the Earth badge, and it lands in Ash's hands, and Ash is like, hey, I finally got my Earth badge. And he does his little pose, and Pikachu does the little Pikachu pose, but this building is about to collapse. So Gary runs over, and he's like, we need to get out of this building. So they all run out of the building, and as soon as they go out, the gym is falling and crumbling all the way down to the ground.
So, the first time they were here, It was the Pokemon Center. This time it's the gym.
Yes. So but Ash starts walking away, and we get a close up look at all 8 of his badges that he has. And he's like, even though Gary has 10 badges, I now have my 8 badges, and I have enough badges to get into the Pokemon League. And Missy's like, well, where is the Pokemon League? And Ash just starts scratching his head, and she's like, Ash, don't you know where the Pokemon League is? And Brock is like, well, maybe Professor Oak will know. And Ash's like, well, yeah. He's like, we're really close to Professor Oak. Why don't we go home and find out where the Pokemon League is? And then they all start traveling away, saying that they're going to go back home next week, Doug.
Yeah, and Ash could probably use a change of underwear or something.
Oh, that's where he's been putting all his money. Not getting Misty a new bike, but getting some new drawers. So, all right. But that's this week's episode. So that's it. They're on their way. They're on their way back home, Doug, starting next week.
We're going home under the pretense of learning more about the Pokemon League, which we don't do
Yes.
at all.
So it's a weird episode. It was a great episode. But Doug, before I give my rating, I gotta ask you, because you do go first in this. How did you feel about this week's episode?
It was good. I mean, I know how you feel about it,
Yes.
but I don't know if I'm there. I mean,
Well. What do you think? Like, I mean, if you're not where I am, because I'm about to give my rating after you. I told you off air how I felt about this episode. So what if you're not where I am? Where are you?
I'm probably about a 4.5. Because to be a 5, it has to be the absolutely perfect episode.
Didn't this
All,
check off all those boxes though?
but all killer, no filler. I feel like they could have trimmed some fat in some places. Um, the Togepi plot was kind of eh.
Yeah, we had comedy, we had adventure, we had advancement, we had plot characters that came back into the mix. For me, we had a gym battle. We had a full gym battle. We had like, if you didn't see Pokemon the first movie, you got to see Mewtwo for the first time in this episode. And I don't know. I'm gonna give this episode a 5. I would say this is one of the very few 5-star ratings that I'm going to give out in the Pokemon world for episodes that we've reviewed so far. But I think this episode checked off all those boxes for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give this episode a 5. The Battle of the Badges is going down as a 5-star rating for me.
It would have been 6 if it was in the Tokyo Dome.
Oh, throwing shade, throwing shade. So, all right, but it wouldn't be the end of this episode if I didn't do this. So I have a Pokemon pack. You hear the pack? It's right here. So let's go ahead, get this opened, and I'm gonna do the card trick. 4 cards at the bottom. Dougie, my man, what energy card am I about to look at?
Psychic energy.
Psychic? Oh, it would have been perfect for this episode, but no, it is a lightning energy this week.
Fuck.
So I have a lightning energy. I have a Brawly card, a Cilio, a Clara Trainer card, Ladybug, Squovette, Crabrawler, a Groki. Oh, a Groki and a Score Bunny. I didn't even realize Score Bunny. So I got a Groki and a Score Bunny in the same pack. And Impact Energy is the reverse holo. What is this? It says this card can only be attached. Oh, I feel like I've read this before. This card can only be attached to a single strike Pokemon. As long as this card is attached, it provides any energy. And let's see. It recovers you if you are poisoned as well. And then in the back of the pack is a big old Ice Rider Calyrex V card. Full. Actually, I don't have this one. I have the other one. I have a Shadow Rider Calyrex. This is my first Ice Rider.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, I got the Shadow Rider Calyrex. So there we go, everybody. I have a holographic. I'm gonna have to show this to my son. My son's gonna go crazy. So all right, I got a Ice Rider Calyrex V card on this nice 5-star rating episode. If you want to see these cards that I pulled today, go ahead and head on over to our Instagram account at Every Pokemon Episode. Follow us on Twitter at PokeBreakdown. And you can follow us on Reddit, anywhere. We're literally all over the place. And if you want to hear next week's episode, if you're listening on the free feed, go ahead and go to our Patreon. And for only $5, you get a new episode a week in advance on the Patreon feed. So there you go. Do you have anything else to add this week, Doug?
Subscribe to my OnlyFans before they take away the porn in October.
Well, it's sad to say this episode's already out past October. Shit. So your porn is gone.
Ah, damn it, motherfucker.
You want to know what's messed up about that? They're taking that away from OnlyFans, but there's a site called Fans Only.
That'll probably be down by the time this goes out as well.
Most likely. But I did catch that news. I was joking with my wife. I was like, well, damn. I was like, there goes my porn subscription. She's like, yeah, now there'll be more money coming into the household.
Yeah, one less subscription. You only got to deal with 16 of them now.
But all right, everybody. If there's nothing else to add to this, go ahead and say your goodbye, Doug.
Bye, Doug.
And this is Wrestling Chris G telling all of you out there, don't miss next week's episode because it's Mr. Mime time before we go back in time. Have a good night, everybody.